Welcome to the Training Box, the show that interviews the top experts from the world of fitness, nutrition, and health as they share their stories and expertise to help educate and inspire you to live a healthier life on purpose and with purpose.
My name is Stephen Box, and I am your host. And today I am joined by women's empowerment coach, Tiffany J. Fambro. Tiffany, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, now your company, Clarity, Confidence, Courage, Women's Empowerment, is an online coaching program. Tell us a little bit about how you help women out.
Absolutely. So Clarity, Confidence, Courage really is all about helping women thrive, helping women get really crystal clear on their intentions, their life path, and their life goals. Then helping them to get past those limiting beliefs, limiting mindsets through a series of strategies that I work with them one-on-one on. And then it helps them to build their confidence, build their courage to really step out there, take action, and live the life that they know they deserve.
I like that. Now tell me, like really specifically, like what kind of things are women really getting out of working with you? What are some of the goals that they're working toward?
Absolutely. So many women that come to me are dealing with issues around divorce, around, emotional issues, dealing with childhood wounds. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of feeling of lack. And so we try to work with, the first thing we do is mindset. It's a really big mindset-based program along with behavioral change. And so talking through what are the things that are holding them back? Why do they feel so afraid? So every single week I do a coaching call on Zoom with them. And I also give them a set of strategies that they work on throughout the week when we're not doing our Zoom calls. And the strategies, again, really help them start to pick out and open their mind, all the things that have been holding them back, start to help them heal those old wounds. And then we start working on building up their confidence, building up their self-esteem, really pouring into that self-love. So things dealing with self-care, things dealing with their health, issues around how they can physically and tangibly clean up their life. I've had clients who literally came to me, hadn't done their divorce paperwork yet. Clients who were trying to buy homes, they were afraid to buy a house by themselves. They was afraid to live by themselves. So literally talking about the mindset, talking about behavior change, and then we get into the tangible steps that they need to take to move forward.
Awesome. So I know for you had in a former career, you did fitness and nutrition. You also have a master's degree in public health education as well as a bachelor's degree in psychology. So
Yes.
a lot of those things that you talked about the mindset, about, different areas of your life, you've obviously got a lot of experience there. Share a little bit about the psychology part in particular because I think for a lot of people, it's when they think about getting healthy, our mindset automatically goes to the physical side, and then we start thinking about things like diets. But a lot of it really is mindset, and the things that we learn, even for weight loss, do translate into many other areas of our life. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Just to give you a little background, Stephen, when I was starting off in my journey, the first thing I did was jump into fitness because I thought my issue was so deeply connected to my body and my self-image. If I could just lose the weight, I'll feel better about myself. But when I really reflect back, what happened was the fitness part was just a manifesto of the root issue. And the root issue was psychological. The root issue was that I didn't believe in myself. The root issue was depression. The root issue was anxiety. Yes, the fitness helped because it physically got my body changing. Physiologically, my serotonins went up, so I started to feel better. But once I started to really dig back the layers, I realized these are mindset issues. Fitness is one part, physical fitness is one part, but the mental fitness is also just as important. So from a psychological standpoint, when I work with women, when we really dig deep into what's going on in their mindset, it's all about how they see themselves. Like you said, diet will change your nutrition, which is great for your physical health. Exercise will change your physical body. But if the mindset does not change, if you don't believe that you can go to the gym every day and work out, if you don't believe you're going to be able to lose that 10 pounds, if you don't see it in your mind first, it's very difficult to accomplish it in real life. And so from a psychological perspective, number one, it definitely starts in believing in yourself. It really starts in you taking that first thought that every day I can do this, whatever it is, whether it's health and wellness or a career path. The second thing is really working to change what you tell yourself every day. One of the things I do with my clients is affirmations, literally just telling themselves, I am abundant, I am deserving, I can do this. So starting to change that little voice in your head that's telling you can't do it to you can do it. And then the third step, kind of like Maslow's dog, if you've ever known anything about psychology and the background and the theory and all the people that started the psychological movement, is habit change. Once you start programming yourself to make a response and to whatever trigger it may be, to change your response to certain triggers, and you know about this, Stephen, in fitness and health, after a while, you start to build healthy habits just because you get accustomed to going to the gym at a certain time, eating a certain way. And it's the same thing with your psychology. If you start to get yourself in the habit of changing your mindset when you get a trigger, whether it's like Maslow's dog, a bell, or if you start to feel sad and you start to change the habit and start telling yourself, you know what? No, I'm not going to allow myself to tell myself I can't, or I'm not going to allow myself to feel down. I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to get some sunlight. So those are the psychological aspects that are definitely tied to health and wellness, your physical health and wellness, but also your mindset, your mental health and wellness.
I love that topic of the affirmations and that idea of those triggers. For me, I used one when I work out, when I'm really starting to feel myself get fatigued or tired and I want to kind of quit even though I'm not quite through with my workout yet. Mine is, I don't do tired. And I just tell myself that, and it's amazing how just all of a sudden I have this burst of energy to actually finish my workout. So definitely a lot of credibility to what you're saying there about having those triggers in your life or those affirmations. They really can make a huge difference for you. Now, I've had the opportunity to hear your story before, and I think you have a really powerful story. Now, I would love for you to share that with our listeners.
Absolutely. So a few years ago, I was about 40 pounds overweight. I was in a very draining and toxic marriage, and I was in a very demanding corporate career. I was a consultant in an international consulting firm. And so all of these things on top of me, I was starting to become very depressed. My anxiety levels were up. I was very unhappy. And so the first thing I decided, coming from a health background, was like, you know what, I'm just going to start walking every day. For psychological reasons, but also for my health. So I started walking every day. My walk turned into a run, and I eventually joined a running group. And that totally changed my life. That was kind of the beginning of me jumping into fitness. So of course I started weightlifting and decided I wanted to up the ante. I started getting into bodybuilding figure level competitions, which I absolutely loved. And it was all great. And going down that path, when your body starts to physically change and you start to build up the mental discipline just to get through a workout, it starts to affect other parts of your life. And when I started to realize the strength that I had to physically go into the gym, to physically compete, I realized I also had the strength to leave my toxic marriage. So fitness really saved me. And I tell people, like, when I went into that space of physical fitness, it opened up so many different avenues for me. I ended up getting divorced, and it also gave me the courage to start my own business, and started off in health and wellness, training, coaching women around health and wellness. And from that, again, spawned me to go even deeper into women's empowerment, because for me, the health and wellness was just a catalyst. It was just like one aspect, but it was really the mindset shift and the courage and the confidence that I had to build up in myself in order to create a new life for myself. So that's kind of my background story, and that's how I ended up doing women's empowerment.
That's really it's impressive to me from the standpoint that you were able to take a small thing, because I know a lot of times people, they think that change has to be this like big, dramatic, overnight thing. And you're able to take something as small as just saying, hey, I'm going to go for a walk. and you can now connect all these dots of everything you've done in your life and your career all the way back to that one single starting point. That's just an amazing thing to me.
Yeah. It was fitness really, for me, someone that was not like a fitness person. I had struggled with my weight all my life. Fitness really was something that I never saw myself doing, but once I started, like you said, just walking every day and being consistent, it was like I couldn't stop. It was like the thing that opened me up and brought life into my life.
All right, now for the people out there who they're just adamant they don't want to work out right now. They're not there yet. They don't even want to go for a walk, maybe, right? And so maybe they're tempted to just kind of shut us off at the moment. What would be your advice to them? Like, how did they find that positive in their life as a starting point to spark other things?
Well, when I first started, my motivation was that I was in agony. I was in anguish. I was in a dark space, and I wanted something to distract me, so to speak. So sometimes it takes asking yourself, what is your motivation? What is the thing that's going to motivate you to keep going? And not just motivate you as your personal you, but what about your family? What about your friends? What about your health? Are you in a health crisis? Do you have children that you want to see grow up, but you're having issues because of your health? So I think the first thing you got to do, and this is what I do with my clients, you have to ask yourself, what is it going to take for me to get motivated to say, this is worth my time? This is worth the effort. Because for some people, they have to see like the carrot on the string to really get them going. So asking yourself, first of all, what is it worth? Is it worth your family? Is it worth your friends? Is it worth your health? Like, what is it going to take to push you? What is it going to take to motivate you? The second thing I would say is get an accountability partner or a personal trainer, someone that can keep you accountable. Someone's going to show up whether you're walking, going to the park and meeting your friend, or going to the gym. I know when I joined the running group, it was such a supportive community, and just knowing that people were going to show up when I got there to run with was very helpful. So it kept me accountable. The third thing that I would say is really look at the long-term benefits. Again, kind of tied into number one, that motivation. How is this going to really affect your entire life when you lose the weight, or when you get your health on track, when you lower your blood pressure, whatever it may be? Look at the long-term, like I like to call it the long game, and see how this is going to affect you long-term, not just immediately, but for the rest of your life. So those are the top three things that I would tell anybody. Look at your immediate motivation, your family, your friends, how this is helping you in the immediate. Get an accountability partner or a trainer, someone that's going to help you, or a group. And number three, like plan out and sketch out the long term. See the long-term strategy and how this is going to benefit you for the rest of your life.
Now, we talk about the long-term focus here. I think that's an area maybe some people struggle in, because it's hard to imagine what your life can look like if you've never actually been there before, right? If you're currently struggling, you've never really truly been happy with yourself. It can be difficult to imagine what that would feel like. Do you have any kind of exercises or anything you give your clients to help them envision that future self?
Absolutely. So my clients actually struggle with this a lot, not necessarily in health, but for example, in romance. It's hard for a woman to see herself in a happy, loving, romantic relationship when she's just gotten divorced from a very toxic and sometimes volatile situation. So what I tell women, I do an exercise that I like to call scripting, where I say to them, well, if you can imagine what life would be like with this person, I want you to write out in the present moment. Like presently, if you had this wonderful, amazing person in your life, I want you to literally write out like a script what that would be. So for example, when it comes to health and wellness, I am waking up every day in this amazing body. I am so physically strong. My shoulders and my traps look amazing. I have a body like J-Lo. I can't even believe it's me. For the first time ever, I'm able to wear a two-piece bikini on the beach. And my husband looks at me like he's never looked at me before. I can't believe that my kids look up to me now because they see a healthy woman, and I'm a role model to them. So I did that. That was just a very short kind of aspect. But I have my clients literally write out what they imagine their life would be like in the present moment as if it has already occurred. And a lot of times what that does, Stephen, it gets their mind literally in that moment. They start to feel the feelings of what it would be like. They start to see it in their mind's eye. And them writing it out is one aspect. And then I tell them to read it out loud to themselves so they can hear it. So literally it's a sensory exercise. You're using your mind, you're using your eyes, you're using your voice eventually, and you're using your ears, and you're literally creating the life that you want to have. So that's just one strategy that I use to get my clients in the moment, in the feeling. And then of course, once they do the exercise, I talk it through with them. I ask them, how did it feel to be that woman? That woman that you saw in your mind's eye, that woman that you never thought you could be. How did that feel for you? And you would not believe, just thinking the thought of what it would feel like in the moment, how, at least the clients I work with, how much they get excited. Like they're like, oh my gosh, Tiffany, I was wearing this and it was yellow and I was on the beach and it was amazing. So the whole idea is to get them in the space of feeling the feeling, and slowly walk them through the process of saying, okay, if you can get your mind there, guess what? You can get your life there. You can get your body there. You can be there. You can have it. And so that's just a small strategy to start changing their mindset, which again starts to change their outlook of their life.
Yeah, and like you say, it's so important that, before you can start the actual transformation, you have to start the mental transformation. Because if you can't believe that you can get somewhere, you're not going to be able to, because you're always going to have those doubts and you're going to start to sabotage yourself along the way, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing I tell Stephen, a lot of my clients, is wherever they are, I say, well, let's talk about all the people who have been where you are and completely changed their life. For my clients, it's like, look at Oprah. She was extremely poor, came from a very small community. Look at her now. Yes, it took years to get to where she was, but she never gave up. So I think it's really important to remind my clients as well of all the people that came before them that were in the space that they were in, that were able to pull themselves together mentally and change their life.
So, Tiffany, I don't know if this is something that happens with a lot of the women you work with, but I know this is something I see with people in general, where they start to try to make changes in their life and they get into this thing of comparing themselves to other people, and they look at where other people are in their journey and they don't respect their own journey, and that ends up hurting them. So is that something you deal with frequently, and how do you help people kind of get rid of that comparison mindset?
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Stephen. I think with a lot of my clients, they'll see friends or, women at their job, and it's like, she's so this, and, I don't understand why I can't have this. She has the life and the kids. And what I try to tell people is the grass is never greener on the other side. Just because you see someone's life on the outside, you have absolutely no idea, number one, what their life is actually like on the inside. Number two, if you see them succeeding, what it took for them to get to that success. And number three, at the end of the day, we're all walking our own path and our own unique journey. And we all have our own unique talents and gifts. And it's our job to pull out our own uniqueness and our own abilities. So there really is no need for comparison, because your success is uniquely yours. It's no one else's. So there's no need for you to compare yourself to that person, because there's something very special about you that they will never have, just like there's something very special about them that you will never have. But our differences is what makes us special. It's what makes us unique. And as long as we can focus on ourselves, focus on our special gifts, then trust me, there is no comparison. You are your own winner every single day.
I love that. And I think that's so important for people to hear because, sometimes I think we all are guilty of it, right? Where we compare ourselves to others or we compare ourselves to where we think we should be. And it's not an objective thing. It's, very much in this close parameter of, what we're trying to look at. And it's this closed minded view. And we're not opening ourselves up to the possibility of where we can get to from where we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Tiffany, one of the things that I want to talk to you a little bit about is this idea of women's empowerment, because the last couple of years have been really big. It's been a really big subject in the media, where we've talked a lot about women's rights and equality and helping women to do more. So, how do you think that the overall conversation of that is going? Are we headed in the right direction? What other things would you like to see going on with that?
So I always tell people, and I actually did a YouTube video about what I define as women's empowerment. And I think the concept of empowerment in general for human beings, empowerment is such a big word. And it's such a long spectrum when it comes to empowerment, specifically for women. And you have what I believe is individual empowerment first. You have to believe in yourself first. You have to believe in whatever goals you want to achieve. And then once you get to that space of building up your confidence, building up your courage, then you start to translate that into your life, your career, your community. So now that's the next part of the spectrum, having a connection to the world. And then some women take it even further and they want to make a change in a social way. So, laws and policies and being paid more at their jobs, protests. So to me, women's empowerment is this long spectrum, but it starts with the individual. I do believe that we are getting much better. I mean, women stood up for the suffrage movement. There are women during civil rights. So women have been in the forefront of making changes for a very long time. And I think right now it's just kind of an explosion of a new generation and women stepping up and saying, you know what? Just like all those other women before me were role models for the next generation, it's time for me to step up and be a role model for this younger generation. So I definitely think we're headed in the right direction. I love the new generation of young women. My niece is in this generation of, generation, what is it, Y, Z? I don't know all of them, but they're bold and they are fearless and they are open. And it's almost like they don't see a parameter. They only see possibilities. And I think that is because of women my age who are in, Generation X and the tech generation who have made the decision to step up and be heard and be seen and, take the risk. And that's teaching our younger women, our young girls, like, yes, you can do anything, you can be anything, you can have anything. So yeah, I think we're headed in a great direction. I think we've always been headed in better directions because I think as time has changed, we've gotten better and better. But the one thing I say in this era is that technology has opened up so many doors around the world for a lot of women that may not have been able to get themselves seen, heard, get their voice out, become visible. We have YouTube, we have Instagram, we have Pinterest, there's so many ways for us to get out there and say what we want to say and not feel like conflicted or constrained. So yes, I do think we're moving in a great direction. The only thing that I want to see more women doing on an individual level is stepping up in their personal lives. So many people think about empowerment on the bigger part of the spectrum. Like, I got to go protest, I got to be out there. But empowerment really starts inside of you. It starts in the household. It starts in believing in yourself. It starts in making that one right decision for yourself that really changes your life so that your daughters and your sons sees in their household a strong, intelligent, powerful woman. So to answer your question, yes, I do. And I just want to see more women stepping up for themselves and loving themselves.
I really like the fact that you actually put it the way you did, especially there in the beginning where you said that, some women take it to the next level of, protest or, law change or whatever, because it kind of takes that pressure off of people to where they think like, oh, I have to be a part of this bigger movement. I don't, I don't want to be out there publicly. I don't want to have to do all this. You're letting them know, hey, you don't have to do that. It's okay if your progression never goes beyond your personal life, because your personal life still has, children that it impacts. It still has neighbors. It still has coworkers. You still have other people around you that you're able to impact on a daily level just by changing your own personal life. And I think that is such a powerful message for people to really get.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. I think that, any type of change, it starts with the individual. And I tell people, like you just said, everybody is not meant to be out there on the front line. But if you make that one simple decision for yourself that other people can see, that's a what do they call it? A ripple effect that can change your whole community.
Yeah. Now you also mentioned in terms of the technology, and I know you do your coaching online. So how do you do that with your clients? What exactly is being online allowed you to do that maybe you couldn't have done before with just being face-to-face with people only?
Absolutely. So being online allows me to connect with women all over the country. I literally have clients in different states, different time zones. So it allows them to connect without having to come to me physically. So that takes off overhead, it takes off time, and women that I work with, these are busy professionals. They don't have a lot of time. That is their biggest issue. They have children, they have spouses, they have careers. So it really works really well. And then at the last minute, if they need to change, meetups or whatever it was, it's not like impacting me hardcore, because I just make a simple change on the computer and we pick up a different date and a different time. And then a lot of women are online just in general. Most of my clients, at least, are always online. They're on social media, they're on YouTube, they're on videos, they're on podcasts. So connecting with them in this way is definitely getting to the women that work with me the most. So it's beneficial both ways. Of course, I can be anywhere, anytime to work with them, and they can pretty much have more time and energy to work with me when it's online. As soon as they get off, they can go to the rest of their life.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually interviewed somebody last week and we were talking about that in terms of, people with really busy schedules and how those people, they're, it's not that they're lazy, they're highly motivated, very successful people. And when they're, having to meet people in person, and they're having to try to fit that, set time at that set location in, a lot of times if a meeting runs a little late, now they can't get there because of traffic, they're having to cancel meetings all the time. And then they start to feel like a failure. So that's one of the really cool things about online, is the fact that it's so flexible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So now you mentioned the social media and how a lot of these women, they're always on social media. So social media is one of those things that people seem to pretty divided on, right? It's like everybody either loves it or they're like, it's the devil. So how do you tell your clients to handle social media? Is there certain things that you try to help them to avoid on social media? Is there certain things you suggest that they do to try to help? Because I know social media, if you allow yourself, especially that comparative mindset we talked about earlier, it's really easy for social media to actually bring you down.
Absolutely. Stephen, there's a book that I tell my clients about. It's called, I believe it's 13 Things That Confident Women Don't Do. And the author, which I cannot remember her name right now, but a big thing that she talks about is social media. And there's actually a term, I don't know if it's social media fatigue, but there's this idea that scrolling through social media literally minute by minute brings down your self-esteem. Like literally, they've done studies about this, about women, who look at social media a lot, and not just look at it, but they spend time scrolling versus women that just glance at it for something specific and get off of it. And the women who scroll, literally their self-esteem, their confidence takes a deep dive. So I'm not going to dig deep into that. I say definitely look that book up, 13 Things That Confident Women Don't Do. But what I tell my clients is use social media as a tool. That's what it is meant for. It is meant to be used as a tool. I don't think there's anything with, taking a few minutes to, look at something your friend said or like a page or like something. But when you spend hours and hours on it, that's when it becomes, something that can be detrimental to your health, to your wellness, and to your mindset. So what I tell women, when you get on social media, go to places that you actually, have a idea that of a topic that you're interested in. So for example, if you're interested in health, then join a health group on Facebook, for example. Or if you are interested in something, I don't know, dealing with makeup, go to a makeup YouTube channel, like the makeup YouTube channels. But don't scroll. I think that like a few pictures, but after about 5 minutes, get off. Get what you need and get off. And to me, Stephen, when I think about anything in life, whether it's social media, television, radio, newspapers, at the end of the day, we all have a choice about what we're going to allow to come into our mindset and what we're going to shelve and say, you know what, that's not for me, I'm not getting involved. And so I tell my clients in general, just like at your job, a work conversation or a coworker who is negative and disruptive, you can either choose to jump into that negativity and allow that engagement, the back and forth and the hostility, or you can say, you know what, that's their opinion, I'm going to step away. Not getting into it, not my circus. So we all have a choice. Social media is not the devil. It's just a tool, just like money is a tool. We either use it for good things or we use it for bad things. It's up to us. The decision is always ours. So that's the one thing that I tell my clients with anything in life. Stand firm in your decision, be confident in your choices, and make decisions that are best for you. If social media is getting you depressed, get off of it. If you need to take a break, take a break. But use it for your benefit. That's it.
I like the fact that you really pointed out there that it's a choice. Whether you're being, whether it's social media, whether it's at the office, whatever, you're making a choice on whether to engage in things or not. And I think that's something that we lose sight of a lot of times. We sometimes we feel like we're victims of what's going on around us. Oh, I can't avoid the negativity at work because everyone's negative, or well, I can't, avoid eating, sugary food because they bring donuts to work every day. But we do have a choice that we can make.
Right. Exactly.
And I think that's a really powerful idea there, that we do have that choice. And, speaking of choices, one of the things that I know I've seen, especially with a lot of women, I see it with some men too, but I think it does affect women more so than men, is this idea of, caring for other people, especially, if you're a mom and you're taking care of kids, there's this tendency to put other people in front of yourself, more so than just taking care of yourself. So can you talk about that a little bit, about obviously there's some benefits to that, right? So let's first talk about what are the benefits to people actually caring for and putting other people in front of themselves. But also, what are some of the negatives of that, and why should people actually take some time to put themselves first?
Absolutely. So the benefits, I think when you take care of others, especially if you're a natural giver, you get that feeling and satisfaction of knowing that you gave, of knowing that you helped someone, of knowing that that person's life was impacted because of you. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially when it comes to your children. You want them to be taken care of. You want them to grow up to be functional adults. You want to give. There are some women who are caretakers of elderly parents. They want to make sure that their parents are taken care of in their elder years, just like they were taken care of when they're younger. You have a spouse that you love. You want to show affection. You want to show that nurturing side of you. There is nothing wrong with that. I think that is beautiful and amazing. So the negative side of it, when it becomes negative, is when you give too much. And what I tell women, giving to yourself is truly a sign of giving to others. It's not selfishness. It's selflessness. When you prioritize yourself as number one and you give yourself that love, you give yourself that attention, you give yourself that time, you give yourself just that quiet space in the morning where you can think and set your intentions for your day. When you give yourself those things, now you're actually building up your mental strength to prepare yourself to give to others. You know, there's an old proverb that I heard: you cannot fill anyone's cup if your cup is empty. If your cup is not full, your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual cup, if it is not full, you don't have anything to give to others. You're literally empty. And so I always tell my clients that you cannot give to your children if you have nothing to give, if you've been completely depleted. So that is kind of the negative side of it, when you give too much and you don't give to yourself first. And so what I tell women is have a balance. There's nothing wrong with giving, but give to yourself first. Fill your cup up first, and then give from the overflow, so that when you give, it's from a feeling of joy, not resentment. It's from a feeling of compassion and love, not obligation and anger. So that's how I feel when it comes to having that fine balance. And the one thing I'll say, Stephen, why I focus on women is because I do believe what you're alluding to earlier was correct. I see this so much more in women than I do in men. Not saying that men don't give, but I think men don't have as much of any type of connection to guilt when they give to themselves as much as women do.
Yeah, I think for men, just from a historical and societal standpoint, we're kind of taught that we're to be financial providers, we're to be protectors. And so we feel like if we're providing financially, we feel like if we're being a protector, that we've fulfilled that obligation, and therefore there is no guilt when we take time for ourselves. Whereas I think, you know, for a long time, women have had more expectation put on them in terms of how many things they're supposed to do. And then as, you know, more women have entered the workforce over the last couple of decades, you know, none of those old beliefs went away. So now I see a lot of women who just feel like they have to do everything. They have to be the superwoman who works 40, 50 hours a week and comes home and does all the cooking and the cleaning and all this other stuff. And that's really a lot for anyone to try to just take on for themselves.
Absolutely. And thankfully, we're in a day and age where I think men are expanding their mindset, and they're kind of seeing, like you just explained, that dynamic, and really realizing that, okay, so my job is not just to go to work and come home and be the protector and a provider, but also to play with my kids, maybe clean up the house, you know, cook for my wife. I mean, I feel like there's so many dynamic a lot of dynamic men these days that have really shifted the conversation, and they're giving just as much as they can give to their families so that they can have more balance in that household. And I think that when it comes to partnership or marriage, that's kind of like the greatest thing ever, because like you said, both genders are in the workforce, both have a lot of things on their plate. If they can split the household duties, the children, and all the other things in their life, it makes for a much more harmonious relationship.
Absolutely. And I will say that actually kind of lends to what my next question for you is going to be. So let's say that you've got a woman who she is kind of at that resentment stage. You know, her kids, she feels like take advantage of her. You know, she's always cleaned up behind them or whatever. They just don't do anything because they know mom would do it. And maybe, you know, the husband or boyfriend or whoever isn't, you know, helping out the way he should. And so there's resentment there. How do you help women get past that stage of being in that resentment and move toward healing themselves without them trying to like change other people? Because we know you can't force anyone else to change, right? So how do you get them to move past that?
Well, the first thing I help my clients to understand is back to this concept of choice. You created this situation. You chose it. You chose the spouse. You chose to do these things, you know, for your children in your life. So the first step is taking accountability for your actions. Nothing happens to you. Everything is just responding to everything that you have chosen. So that's the first thing I have to get my clients to see, like, wow, Tiffany, you're right. I created this. I created the kids thinking that mom's going to do everything. I created the aspect of my spouse believing that a home cooked meal was going to be there every single day because I did that. So now I'm saying that I want to change the dynamics. It's not them. It is me. This is my decision that I want to make a change. So there really shouldn't be resentment as much as it is me making a decision that, number one, I created this. And if I can create it, I can uncreate it. So, of course, when you uncreate something, that means that you, as an individual, your behavior has to change. So after you take that acknowledgement and that accountability, you then have to change your own behavior. Now, changing your own behavior in that example that you gave is going to affect the other people in your household. So the one thing that I tell women, I've had women in this situation, I say the first thing that you need to do is have something that you probably have never had before or never done before, and that is a family meeting. And the family meeting isn't to berate anyone or hurt anyone's feelings. The family meeting is just to give your family clarity on what you're experiencing and what you're going through. And in a calm way, just explain to them, you know, I have been doing a lot, and really make it sound, take the ownership of the situation. I've been doing a lot. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. But what I am realizing now is that I'm getting a little tired, and I think I need a little bit more time for myself. So this is what I'm no longer going to do. And what this does, you're not negotiating, you're not arguing for your limitations. You're just telling your family what you're experiencing, clearly communicating what you're going through, and letting them know what your behavior change is going to look like. So from now on, my behavior change is that I am no longer going to cook every day. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to go out to eat. My behavior change means that I am no longer going to do the kids' laundry. They're teenagers. You're going to do your own laundry. That is what the behavior change looks like. So for a lot of women, that's scary because they're afraid of reaction, but that's where you have to build up the confidence. And it doesn't have to be quickly. I tell women, because you're impacting other people, they've gotten accustomed to these habits, take it slow. You may say, you know, I've decided I'm not going to cook every day. We're going to eat on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and just start there. Then the next couple weeks, the next type of behavior change. Now, some women are in such dire straits, honestly, Stephen, they're at the brink of a meltdown. Literally, some of the clients that I have are like, I think I'm about to have a nervous breakdown. In situations like that, it's kind of an emergency. You really need to talk to your spouse. You really need to clearly communicate, again, what you're experiencing. It's not their fault. And so for my clients, I say take accountability. Let's talk through how your behavior is going to change. Let's talk through how it's going to impact the other people in your household. And let's talk through how you're going to clearly and compassionately communicate that to them so that they have an understanding of what you're going through, why you're going to change, and the impact that's going to have on their lives.
And you know, I will add to that, you know, for the ladies out there who have a man in your life, you know, we talked about earlier about how there are a lot more men now who are helping out around the house and taking on extra duties. And I think part of that is because it actually feeds into our desire to be a provider. Because it's not always just about being a financial provider. Sometimes it's about providing in other ways. So like Tiffany was just saying, if you have that compassionate conversation and you reach out to that person, you let them know that the things that you're asking, if you can kind of help them to understand that that is part of their role as a provider and that they're providing something for you, I think you'll actually get a lot more buy-in versus, you know, doing the whole like yelling and pointing fingers and berating people thing.
Absolutely, Stephen. I tell women so many times, it's not about what you say, it's about how you say it and how you communicate your thoughts. And like, I so agree with everything that you said. And I've heard men say this before. when you're talking to if the situation, if you're with a male and you're talking to them, let them help you. Like, show them, like, I'm desiring you to help me. And most men that I know, at least, they want to help, but they need to know how. But if you're not telling them how, you're not communicating, you're not expressing how to physically, tangibly help, then they don't know.
Absolutely. So, all right, so we're going to be wrapping up here in a minute, but before I do, I do like to do a lightning round of questions. So the way this is going to work is I'm going to ask you a question. You're going to give me the first answer that pops in your mind, okay?
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yes.
It's like table topics, right?
Right, exactly.
All right.
And Stephen, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
Okay.
All right, so first question. You go to a new, or someone's coming to your city where you live. What is the restaurant that they have to go to? And what do they need to order?
Oh, gosh. The city where I live, the restaurant they have to go to. This is so hard. Okay. In Atlanta, there is a restaurant called The Bucket Cafe. It's kind of like a bar grill type restaurant. It's across from Lenox Mall in Buckhead, which is like the trendy area. And you have to get the wings. Like, the food there is so good, but the wings are sensational. And I swear their Philly cheesesteak is amazing. So I would say The Bucket Cafe, Atlanta, across from Lenox.
Well, I'm a huge Philly cheesesteak person, so I may have to go check that one out myself because I live here in Atlanta. All right, second question. If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Spain.
Why Spain?
You know, Spain, when I think about Spain and things that I've read about Spain, is such, to me, a romantic, hot and spicy type of culture. And there's so many different aspects of Spain. You know, you have the southern part, which is closer to Africa and the Mediterranean. Then you have the northern part, which is closer to France. And from the people that I've talked to, they say it's all totally different. You know, each little town or province is totally different from the other. So even though it's all Spain, you're going to get a different feel. But I just really love the culture, Spanish culture, as far as Spain, flamenco dancers and the beautiful weather and the beaches and what I've seen in Madrid and Barcelona. I have family members that have went. They're like, oh my God, it's so amazing. So yeah, I would love to go to Spain because I love learning about culture.
All right, awesome. All right, last question. A book or quote which has had a major impact on your life.
Oh my gosh, there are so many of them. The first one, as far as a quote that pops into my mind, is, I believe it was Maya Angelou. And she said, when people show you who they are, believe them. That's the first one. The book, I read so many books. Oh gosh. Oh, this is hard, Stephen. If you had to ask me anything else, let me can I cheat a little bit and look at what's on my shelf right now? Okay. Book that I really love, I'm rereading it right now, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. If you're not familiar with the book, Napoleon Hill, he wrote this book in the 1920s. He interviewed like a lot of different, very successful entrepreneurs of the time, Edison, and so many different people at that time, and really pulled together all these different concepts of their personality and things they experienced, and really created almost like each chapter is a list of how to be rich, but not rich just financially. What he really digs into is this idea of a rich mindset. And it really connects to what I teach women in my program, my 90-day coaching program, is that wealth, abundance, rich is not just in money and finances, it's in lifestyle, it's in beliefs, it's in love, it's in joy, it's in happiness. And so I really love that book because he really digs into the psychology of wealth. And when you look at it, it's no different than the psychology of everything else you want in life. You have to change your mindset. You have to change your beliefs. You have to know that you can do it. You have to affirm it every day. You have to see yourself there. And that's how you change your life. That's how you create a life that you love. So I really enjoy that book, Think and Grow Rich.
It's interesting that you finished with that, because you just kind of brought us back full circle, didn't you? Where it all starts with the mindset.
Yes, absolutely.
But Tiffany, it's been an absolute pleasure having you today. Tell people how they can get a hold of you.
So if you want to follow me on my website, it's www.cccwomen'sempowerment.com. I have all my social media links there. You can also follow me on Facebook, and it's Tiffany J. Fambro Women's Empowerment is my fan page. I'm also on YouTube, and you can just type in Tiffany J. Fambro. I'm also on LinkedIn as Tiffany J. Fambro and Instagram as Tiffany J. Fambro.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And if y'all have enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to like, share, and comment. And if you do have any follow-up questions for Tiffany, please reach out to her through her website, or you can put those in the comments for the video, and I'll make sure that she sees them and can answer those for you. So Tiffany,
Awesome.
Thank you again, and seriously awesome. Really enjoyed it today. So thank you very much once again for coming on and being our guest today.
Thanks so much for having me, Stephen.